we live our lives in the moment. We just forget that. It's so easy to forget it because we just sort of extend out this future and we go back into the past, missing right now. And everything happens right now. You were born right now, you live right now, and you're going to die right now. Even if you die in 50 years' time, it's still going to be now, then. Hello friends, John Dalton here, Further Emergence Podcast, where we talk about life, love, consciousness, the mystery. And in this episode, we're going into the kindness and fear, the power of expressing your preferences, recognizing what nurtures you, releasing yourself from suffering, and coming into the moment. So I am attempting maybe to do too many things at the one time. I'm currently in the forest with my two dog friends, Kirk and Scotty, and so we're having a walk, so I'm doing that, and then I'm also talking to you about something that came up. It's been coming up for a while, and then I wrote about it, and it was one of those times when I wrote about it and I thought, well, I think I am the only person who's going to get what I've written about. And it was the opposite. A lot of people got in touch saying, oh, I really relate to that. So I thought I'd include it in the podcast. Maybe it's too much because as I'm doing that, I'm looking at what happens is Kirk is very captainish. That's why he got called Kirk. They're called, my dog friends are called Kirk and Scotty after the two chaps from Star Trek. So Kirk is Captain Kirk, and then Scotty is Scotty. And Kirk is very captainish and is always in front. And Scotty is very determined to walk at his own pace and explore what he needs to explore. So he's he's got his own person. So they're both on leads because we're in a forest and cars appear out of nowhere every now and then, so I can't just let them run. So whenever I have the two of them on leads at the same time, I end up being like Stretch Armstrong in the middle. And then I had the brainwave to attach the two leads together. And then I just hold the bit in the middle. I've just got a little handle that I hold in the middle. So they can do what they like. And Scotty gets quite offended if he feels like he's being pulled. So I can kind of go, it's not me, it's Kirk. Kirk's the one doing the pulling here. Because Kirk's the one out in front. So the thing that I wrote about was about, I want to say 3 or 4 months ago, I had this intense feeling of kindness being directed towards me. Which sounds lovely, and it was lovely, but the thing is that there was nobody around. It wasn't a person being kind to me. It was a feeling of that everything had been made just for me. The trees, the stars, the sun, the moon, the leaves, every leaf on every tree. I just had this very strong feeling of that it was all done for me. It was beautiful. It was very moving and very lovely. And when I was ranging around on the inside going, what do I call this? The only thing that kept coming to mind was the kindness, because that's what it felt like, just profound kindness. It was so beautiful. So it lasted for a couple of days. It just came out of nowhere. I didn't summon it or I didn't conjure it. I had no control over it that I could see. And then I got distracted and I got on with the 101 things of life, and I forgot about it because it kind of faded away. But then last month, was it last month? Yeah, last month, it came back again, very strongly. And this time, I wouldn't say I could control it, but I could, it's like I found my way to it. It's probably the best way I think of it. I could, if I couldn't, all I had to do was think about it, and there it was. But then when I drifted a bit further, I could find my way back to it by, I kind of think of it like joining the dots. And the dots are what's good. I just have to look at what's good. And I'd look at this thing that was good, then I'd look at that thing that was good, then I'd look at this other thing that was good, and then suddenly there it would be again. That's sense of intense kindness being directed towards me. So I would look, there's always good. Doesn't matter how bad everything is, there's always good. So I would just, look at my breathing, or I would look at one of my dog friends, or I would look at a leaf, or look at the sunshine, or the warmth, or the feeling of my clothing. Anything. There's so much good around. And there I would be back. That was great. It's like, oh, this is fantastic. Until one morning I woke up, and it was it was one of those mornings where I woke up, my eyes opened, and I'm sort of staring at the ceiling. I'm awake, but I'm not fully there yet. Now, what I was talking about is happening. Kirk is too far ahead. He's pulling Scotty, and Scotty is looking very upset. Like, what are you pulling me for? And I'm going, it's not me. Look, here it is again. See him? Look, he's very upset. So yeah, I'm lying in bed, blinking at the ceiling. Don't really know who I am. Don't really know where I am. Now, what I'm describing all happens very fast, but so I wake up, and then my mind goes, oh, let me just read off the list of things you should be concerned about. In fact, these are more than concerns. These are things you should be actively worried about. Yes, you should definitely be worried about these things. So I started to worry. And then I started to get quite concerned, because the things I was worrying about they weren't small things. They didn't feel small. And then I got quite anxious. And then I went, well, this is terrible. Where's the kindness now? And I had a very strong visual of my anxiety or fear creating like a bubble around me, like a force field around me. And the force field was blocking me from experiencing the kindness. And it was one of those awful moments of like, oh my God, is this what's been going on my whole life? This fear or anxiety creates a barrier between me and the thing that I want to be connected to, which is the kindness. Because it's like the kindness is there all around. It sort of felt like it's this lovely music that's there all the time. But me doing a sort of a Will Ferrell, like, I'm so afraid, where's the kindness? I'm drowning it out. I'm drowning out the kindness, but with the music of the kindness, with my sort of screaming in terror. And I was like, oh, is that what's been going on? Is that been going on my whole life? Like fear blocking me from the thing that I want to get to. Because one of the things one of the really strong elements to the kindness was this feeling of safety, of just like everything's okay, everything's for you, you're totally loved, you're totally taken care of, there's nothing to worry about. Which is, of course, when you're worried, that's exactly the place you want to be. But then kind of going, where is that place? Where's that place? Where's that music? Where's that music? I can't hear the music. So that was another way of finding my way back to the kindness, was of when I'm afraid or anxious, to be very still. And what came back to me was the movie or the book Dune. I read the book Dune in the late 70s. It's a great book. I really liked it. And it stayed with me. So many different things have stayed with me. And not just me. It's a very enduring book. And there's been films made of it. And it's currently been made quite recently. And, it's divided into two parts. The part one's out. It's very good. But there's a scene in it where the main character, Paul Atreides, is he's in his bedroom, and there's this thing called a hunter seeker is put into his room, which is, it's like a little AI poison dart that is attracted to movement. So he sees it out of the corner of his eyes and he freezes. And he knows that if he makes any kind of movement at all, it'll get him. So he has to be very still. And he recites this thing called a litany against fear, which his mother taught him. His mother was what they called in the book the Bene Gesserit, it's kind of like a secret nun kind of a thing, like nuns, like Catholic nuns, except with sort of superpowers. But anyway, the litany of fear is something along the lines of, I will not fear, fear is the little death, I will turn and face my fear and let it wash through me. This is an exact quote now. I'm in the forest, come on, I haven't got the exact quote. I let the fear wash through me, wash over me. I'll turn my inner eye where the fear has gone, and there will be nothing, and only I will remain. Something along those lines. If you really want to get the exact quote, go and look at the blog post I wrote about this. And that came back to me in relation to anxiety blocking the kindness. Because it's very similar. It's like the kindness or the anxiety is a little bit like a hunter-seeker in your bedroom. Okay, I'm pushing this analogy a bit. But anyway, to help the force field that's blocking the kindness, I have to be very still, because I know the only way for the kindness, for me to reconnect with the kindness, or for the kindness to come through to me, is to be very still and to not be afraid. And you not being afraid is easy to say. It's like somebody who's tense and you say to them, would you never just relax? I mean, that is probably of the all-time least helpful things you can say to somebody who's tense. That's up there. Because if you're tense, trying to force yourself to relax is very difficult. And similarly, trying to make yourself not be afraid when you are afraid, that's virtually impossible. But you can be very still, and you can stop adding to the fearful thoughts. So you can just be as still as you can, knowing that as you're being still, the fear drains away. Because a lot of fear is to do with momentum and repetition and looping thoughts. And what am I going to do about this thing? What am I going to do about this thing? What am I going to, just over and over and over, trying to, solve problems. Whereas if you're just very still, I have found that fear goes. And I'm very motivated to be very still now, because I know that being very still and letting the fear or anxiety fade away, well, that means that the kindness can come back. So, I don't know if you relate to any of that. Kirk and Scotty do, definitely. They are very big proponents of being still when they're afraid. They're not. They like to bark a lot if they're afraid. I don't know if you relate to it. I hope you do, because as I said in the blog post, it's my fondest wish that you experience the kindness, because it's such a gift, such a friendly, warm gift to receive. And I have a feeling it's there for everybody. I just happened to be lucky enough to stumble into it. And from the feedback that I've got, other people have like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I experienced that too. And I always think if you can experience something once, you can experience it all the time. Because everything we experience happens inside us. So it's all in there. And these little hacks that I've come across of joining up the dots, joining up the good dots, looking at what's good, and then if you notice the fear is blocking you from the kindness, being very still. Do you know about my friendly notes? I send out friendly notes every Sunday, which is a kind of a catch-all for everything that's been going on during the weeks. I talk about the podcast, I talk about my writing for that week. So yeah, go along to furtheremergence.com. There's a thing at the bottom of the screen. It'll encourage you to stay in touch. Sign up for that. Or you could just send me a question, or both. Question or just how it's going for you. John@furtheremergence.com. I love hearing from you. So yeah, get in touch. So I have a bit of a life hack for you. I've heard of this. I heard of this years and years and years ago, and I thought it was, just bigger, and I just didn't think it was appropriate. And now I'm kind of seeing that it is. It's so helpful, and it's a really simple thing. It doesn't sound like it's powerful, but it is, and that is it's about setting intentions. So I kind of thought setting intentions was the sort of thing that you did at the beginning of the year, and then you forgot about. But what I've discovered is that you can set intentions for every day, everything that you're going to do. And it's very powerful because it generally goes the way I want. And I think that comes down to this idea that existence is a neutral field. So it will pretty much behave whatever way you want it to, within reason and how it fits in with what you're figuring out about yourself in your life. But if you, like when I get up in the morning, I sort of think about how I'd like the day to go. So I sort of think through the day, and it's almost like I extend out this lovely bubble of ease and enjoyment and happiness and whatever, all the things that I want. I've got to go and do that thing, and I'll find a parking spot very easily. This person is going to be very helpful and in a good mood, and so on. And I just kind of extend out this bubble for the day. And then even at night I've started doing it. I want to have a very nice rest. I want to sleep really well. I want to have nice dreams. And it's not like every single thing that I project forward, it happens. But it happens a lot more than if I just, when I just wake up and just sort of stumble forward into the day and I don't do any of that. So it's so helpful. And it seems ridiculous. You kind of go, well, how could that possibly make any difference? But it's that thing of like, you never get answers to questions you don't ask. It's kind of similar. Like if I don't express a preference, the chances of it going the way I'd like it to go are so much less than when I do. And when, if I say, oh, this is how I'd like things to go, and it doesn't go that way, that's fine. I'm not, it's no different. But what I'm seeing is it goes the way I'd like it to go a lot of the time. A surprising amount of time. And it's just nice to sort of have this feeling of co-creating the day and the life and everything. And it's an affirmation of what you want is, you're allowed to want things. You're allowed to have preferences, I mean, it's not like, as I say, you get attached to them, and that's one of the reasons why people don't do this, or why I didn't do this, because, when at the beginning you sort of do it, and it doesn't go the way you want, and you go, well, that doesn't work. It's like, well, just keep doing it, and you'll be surprised when you add it all up. You look back over the week, you're like, yeah, that actually was a pretty good week. It kind of went a lot more in the direction I wanted. So yeah, that's my life hack. Highly recommend it, and I'm very happy to pass it on to you. Now let's have a look at some of the memes on the Further Emergence Instagram feed. First one's very simple. It says, water what waters you. And the award for best meme ever goes to this meme. So simple, so beautiful. I had to read it a few times. I didn't fully get it the first time I read it. I love when somebody can do this, can just condense it down into the bare essentials. Water what waters you. That's genius. And really hard to do, because there's two parts to it. First is identifying what is watering you, meaning what's nourishing you. And then, second part is water it or focus on it or bring it to yourself. And why it's hard is we're so used to giving ourselves a hard time. We're so used to focusing on the things that are not working. We're so used to focusing on the stress and the drama and the problematic things that it's so easy to overlook what makes me feel good. Simple. What makes me feel good? That person, I really enjoy being around that person. So, I'm going to make a point of being around that person more. I really like my duvet, or my bed covering. I really like my bed. I really like soft sheets. I'm going to get some soft sheets. I really like when things are tidy in my environment. I'm going to make sure I do that. I love that music of that particular musician or artist. Well, I'm going to get some more of that. I'm going to make sure and play it. Oh, I love when I have this particular kind of food. I'm going to make sure and get that. I love going for walks. Then I'm going to make sure I do more of that. Identifying what is nourishing you in the simplest way, like physically, but also emotionally, spiritually, and then going, yeah, I am going to make sure I get more of that. I'm going to make sure I bring more and more of that. And it's all summed up in this beautiful thing of water what waters you. Brilliant. The next one says, there are places you haven't been yet where you already belong, and people you haven't met who will feel like home. So it's a powerful idea, really, isn't it? That there are people that you haven't met who will love you. There are places you haven't been yet that will feel like home. That is a very expansive way of thinking about the world and your place in it. And really what it points towards is being more comfortable in the world. Because it's very easy to feel jaded and static and stationary and stuck and cynical and like you've seen it all. And it's not true. The world is a very big place, and what happens is we build up this psychic energetic egg around us, and everything looks the same. It's like the first time you drove home or you drove to a new place, new house, you noticed everything. And now you can drive home and you don't even know how you did it. You just, oh, I'm home. You're pulling into the driveway or whatever, because you've stopped seeing things freshly. And you follow that on, and the feeling of, I've seen it all, I know people, I know what people are like, but we don't know anything. And we don't know what's in the future. And thinking that there are people who I haven't met yet who are going to love me more profoundly than I've ever been loved before. There are places I haven't been yet that are going to feel more like home than I've ever felt before. What that does is it beckons the future you, the more expanded version of you, the happier version of you, the version of yourself that you're moving towards. And it's opening up rather than shutting down. Just thinking like that and being open to it and being, yeah, I wouldn't mind being that person who discovers a place that feels more like home. Or more, not to say where you are now isn't home, but that there's more. It could be exactly where you are now, but it could be somewhere else. It opens up the possibilities, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's a little message from the outside world that, You're not alone, you're not unloved, and you're not unwelcome. And that's a lovely thing. The next one is a quote from Catherine Zenkina, who's also known as the Manifestation Babe. And it says, "You will never suffer enough to help those suffering. The key to raising the vibration of the planet isn't putting yourself in a lower one. Add high frequencies to the collective by doing your own internal shifting. Look for evidence that good things do exist, and do your part by adding good things into the collective. Take care of yourself to take care of others." There's such a lot in this little meme. This idea that you can't suffer enough to help people who are suffering. It's very shocking when you first read it, because it really goes against a lot of very, very deep conditioning that we just automatically enact without thinking about it. We see something terrible on the news, and somewhere we feel like if we feel bad enough about it, that in some way that goes to help, or that we can't be happy while there's suffering going on in the world. Which, when you think about it, like anytime I've been suffering and miserable, the first thing I've thought of is not, well, I don't want anybody else to be suffering. I never think like that. I'm happy for people who are not suffering. And I'm sure you're the same. But we don't think about it when we see the other way around, because what we feel is awful. We see these terrible images, these terrible things that are happening, and we feel so powerless to do anything about it. And we automatically think, well, I can suffer a bit, I can be miserable, I can be really unhappy, and that in some way shows solidarity with the people who are suffering. But it doesn't. It doesn't show solidarity, it doesn't show empathy, it just ruins your day, which the person who is suffering probably doesn't want to happen anyway. And the most helpful thing you can do is to put good things into this collective field that we all share, because we do share this collective field. And the idea that if you really want to raise the vibration of that field, then you have to put higher vibrations into it. You can't put, it's not, you're not helping by lowering your vibration to do that by like, I'm gonna be miserable too. And that doesn't mean that you're not a caring person. Of course you're a caring person. But it's like understanding the energetics of it and going, well, the most helpful thing I can do is to be happy. And to raise my vibration and put that in. And that gives me a much better chance. So if you just take that on the very practical thing of money, it's like, oh, how do I help poor people? I help poor people by being poor myself. That's not going to work. You're not going to be able to help. You can understand people who have no money. You can understand where they're at. But if you make yourself poor, if you bring your financial level down to their level and solidarity, how can you help them? Whereas if you raise your financial vibration, just because we're using money, then you're in a much better position to help a lot of people, whether that's through just giving them money or whether it's through providing some way that they can make money for themselves or employment or whatever. But as you bring your vibration up, you're in a much better position to be able to help them. Then I'm going to make myself, I'm going to get rid of all my money just to be on the same page as them. That's not going to work. It's kind of the same. You see somebody who's in misery on TV, making yourself miserable brings you down, which doesn't help them. Whereas if you acknowledge them, it's not to be cruel or callous about it or spiritual bypassy about it, but to acknowledge what's going on for them, and then make your focus of, well, what's going on in my little life? And I'm in a beautiful forest right now, and it's great, and I'm talking to you. That's beautiful. That's what's going on in my life. And if you look around, you're You're listening to somebody on a device, a nice device. That's good. There's always some good that you can focus on, and that helps to bring you up, bring your vibration up, and that's very helpful for the field. If everybody did that, the field would raise and raise, and all, that thing of a rising tide lifts all boats. It's so true. And the last one is one I wrote, and it says, "The moment holds the peace. It always has. The past and the future are smoke in the mind. Let the wind blow through you and rest in the moment. Miraculous things always happen in the moment." That's the thing about the moment, is it moves very fast and it's very easy to miss. I find it very hard to come into the moment. I think most people do. I can get about 10 seconds on either side of it on a really good day. But it moves so fast, by the time I finish this sentence, it's already, the moment has passed. But we live our lives in the moment. We just forget that. It's so easy to forget it because we just sort of extend out this future and we go back into the past, missing right now. And everything happens right now. You were born right now, you live right now, and you're going to die right now. Even if you die in 50 years' time, it's still going to be now, then, if you know what I mean. And it's a great idea, because that's all it can really be, as an idea, because it's very hard to, as I say, to actually come right into it. I can come into it for, little instances, but very hard to. That's why I encourage in meditation to really register that moment when you stop thinking, when you turn off the pictures and you turn off the sound, because that's the moment. You're right in the moment then, and time sort of stops then and expands. The moment is where all the power is, all the power in your life is. And I say that because that's where we live. As I said, there's nothing in the future. The future is just an imagination, and the past is gone. You can't do anything in the past, because even like past trauma, I do work with the trauma a lot. Past trauma continues on inside in the moment. It's not like, I've got to go back and rescue a 5-year-old part of myself. I've got to go back in time to when that 5-year-old part was traumatized. That 5-year-old part is trapped inside you. And if it releases, it always releases now. So the now, the moment, whatever you want to call it, it's a powerful thing to reflect on and to focus on and to come into, and to remember that that's where we live. All right, well, that's all I have for you this time. I trust you're well. I trust you're of good cheer, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.